we live in a world, we know it's dark, we know it's bad, we know tyrants and the powers that shouldn't be rule us. And so we've accurately pinpointed the problem, or as near as accurate as we possibly can with the understanding that we have. But the question is, okay, if we know the problem, we know what the solution is, how do we put feet on that solution, and how do we change our world? Because like I always say on this channel, we need to do like Patrick Henry said, guard with jealous attention the public liberty, and don't trust anybody who comes near that precious jewel. But how do we protect it? We protect it by changing ourselves. We can't change the world unless we change ourselves. And with that, Cory, take it away. Jim, I appreciate you being here. Thanks for showing up, man, on such short notice.
Well said, brother. If you guys don't know what we're doing in Florida, you definitely want to stay plugged in, because there's a lot of things happening, and even events. If you guys ever want to come visit, we welcome you. I would just say, at least in my area, I'm around Tampa. Jim is around like Orlando-ish. So we got two of the biggest hotspots in Florida, two of also some of the fastest growing cities in America. So there's a lot happening here. And I just want to start off with this picture. It says, when it comes down to it, the only knowledge that really matters is how to purify water, how to grow your own food, how to hunt, how to fish, what plants are edible, how to build, and how to love. That's what really matters. And Jim, I want you to introduce yourself, because you've just gathered a bunch of celebrities and influencers who are actually coming together, who care about freedom and the soil and the health and the environment and what's going on in this world, and trying to fix the problems.
That's right. We have the solutions to all of the world's biggest problems. Now, how do we change the world? Well, we follow Martin Luther King's advice. Those who love peace must learn to organize as effectively as those who love war. So then, what do we organize around? Well, we follow Martin Luther King's concept. There's one thing stronger than all of the armies of the world, and that is an idea whose time has come. Well, we've got it. It's very simple. Awareness of the problem, light mente, which is the opposite of governmente, and using our resources wisely. When we simply take the poisons out and we grow edible, regenerative, beautiful landscapes instead of ornamental, poisonous landscapes, when we have mass adoption of that one thing, we take back all the power and we win the war.
There you go. Gardening is a revolutionary act, cheaper than the gym, the doctor, and the psychologist. It builds communities.
And Jim, what are we looking at there? Like what's the landscape you showed us, and what are you munching on there in that forest of greenery?
I was munching on cherries and mulberries, and we are living in St. Cloud, Florida. We have 4 families living here full time, and we produce way more food than we need to thrive. We've got cows and chickens and turkeys and ducks and 7 species of fish and honeybees. And I'm not a farmer. I don't want to be a farmer. I love farmers. They work really hard. I don't want to work that hard. So instead, we plant a perennial edible landscape all around us. And we're 100% off grid, including non-compliance with government publicly. And we are inviting the government in to do it our way, but we're not going to do it their way.
Okay, hold on a second. Okay, so okay, no, you opened so many cans of worms there, Jim. Because I mean, like, you are where I want to be, and I think you are where a lot of people who are in the audience want to be. So just give us a time frame. How long did it take you to get to the point where you got all this greenery around you? Did you plant all that stuff first of all, and how did you populate your land with all those the animals and stuff?
Oh, I love that question so much. So 2 years ago, there was nothing here but sand, Florida sugar sand. And we were told 2 years ago that this is impossible, that you can't grow food on that. And when we use the permaculture design principles, right? Permaculture is an agricultural design science that has within it the solutions to all regenerative systems. When we simply follow the process of mimicking nature and putting these guilds together, I could walk away for 30 years and come back in 30 years, and this would be a jungle of food that would extend hundreds of miles with no energy input. It's just harvesting.
And you're producing so much food that it goes over and above the needs of 4 families. And how many people does that represent?
About 12 or 13 people. I've got 2 daughters. They've got 2 kids, 4, 8. Yeah, about 13 people. And with the sweet potatoes alone, we could have enough calories to feed everybody. You know, we would need diversity, but
Right.
yes, we have between the sweet potatoes and the yucca, and our fish pond has like 15,000 fish in it. We stocked it, and then we use the water on a solar timer. It's all automated. We use the water to fertigate the food forest around the fish pond.
Can you take us, like, can you walk us around your place and show us what you're talking about? This is so fascinating. So, okay. So when you say you're off grid, you are 100% off grid. There's not 1% that you're depending on the outside for.
We're so off grid that a community guy came with a badge the other day, and he said, can you show me your permits to build these homes? And I said on camera, who gave you permission to come on our land? It's posted. Implied consent is not granted. And he said, I'm sorry, I'll leave if you want me to. And then I said, well, wait a sec, because he seemed like a nice guy. Yeah. 20 minutes later, he had tears in his eyes. He's not bothering us about permits because we're showing him a better way. So yes, we're off grid.
Wow, man, that I almost have tears in my eyes because this right here is a dream for people who literally say, hey, I want to be off grid.
Yeah.
What is
that? And everybody can do it. And that's what we do.
What is that? Is that a sprinkler system or a Gatling gun? What is that?
I love it. So this is the arm of the farmer. And this is the arm of tyranny. That's an English baton. That's a police baton. And we are demonstrating non-compliance with any form of force and violence. We are not slaves. We are free.
Nice. Yeah. If anybody in the chat room has any question for Jim or Cory, put it in the box and I'll try to field that.
I did see something. Someone mentioned, they were like, oh, what if we don't have a lot of land? Well, I think what's cool about the food forest model in permaculture is you can work with whatever the environment is currently at. I mean, I saw Jim doing outreaches to people in the desert, It's like he built his on sand. He proved that you can do the impossible, but also food forestry allows you to get a high yield in a small area of land because you're building it in layers. So it's very unique the way the system works.
So explain something to me, Jim. So you obviously, you and people who help plant that little cool greenery landscape that you're in, you had to have educated yourself on how to amend that kind of seemingly unforgiving soil. Like take us from square one on that.
Okay, square one. We had land that was down about 6 from where it is now, and we wanted to raise up the land to make sure that we were out of any flood potential. Right. So we dug a pond and it's about 3.5 acres, 25 foot deep. So the land that I'm standing on really on average came from 10 feet underground. There was no life in it. It was the worst of the worst for building life in soil. So then we bought a bunch of mulch. So we went to the local retailers of mulch and we paid about 15 grand and we covered the whole thing with mulch. Then in specific areas based on our design, we added rich black soil and an irrigation system. And then we covered that with mulch. And then the next step is we put guilds together, right? So like this area here, this is a banana circle, right? And there's land, it's raised up right here. And in the middle is the banana circle. So we designed the land. So when we have a rain event, the rain funnels into the circle and it slows it, it sinks it, and it spreads it into the ground so the ground can become a water battery. And these design principles work everywhere in the world.
Wow. I'm kind of speechless. So okay, so you have a cell signal obviously, and you're getting your electricity from what? Harnessing the sun or
solar
or what?
Yeah.
It's
solar energy. Yep.
Okay. And you and your crew basically installed all the solar panels. You put in all the irrigation. You amended all the soil. You guys all did that yourselves?
So when you say yourselves, we collaborate. And
Okay.
that's what we do. So we find people that can do things that we can't do, and we hire them. The
Right.
last thing I want to do is end up to be the next BlackRock and control the freaking world, right? That's unsustainable. So we don't compete with. The only competitor we have is evil. So we collaborate with anybody who has a solution. So in other words, I've hired dozens of contractors to come in and do their different piece of the puzzle.
Man, I can only imagine, like, putting myself in the minds of somebody who's sitting out there watching what you have done with the soil that you had to work with. And see, I live in Oklahoma, and my soil is not near as unforgiving as that. So it seems like this would give a whole lot of people a whole lot of hope, because it seems like that would be the worst possible soil to actually work with. And yet you guys are doing it. You're creating a yield that's feeding 4 families and then some. Okay, so when you have surplus on your property, do you go to a farmer's market and do you sell the rest of it, or what do you do with the stuff you can't eat?
So currently, we let it go back into the soil or we give it away. In fact, a real quick story that shows the potential, the exponential abundance potential of this model. A friend came here and he got a sweet potato vine that was about 18 inches long. No potato on it, just a vine with a couple of leaves. He came back 18 months later and he said, Jim, I've gotten over 100 pounds of sweet potatoes. And also 25 of my friends are now growing sweet potatoes off that one vine that you gave. So our job is to inspire and empower the local community, because the food supply chain is in process of being destroyed. In essence, it already has been for decades. It's been destroyed. So we must create a new food supply chain, and that's what we're intending.
Hey, so Brian, if you don't mind me showing real quick, because he mentioned there was a guy that did sweet potatoes. This is the guy. I have him up. Mike's in the garden.
Okay.
Yeah, I have his social media. He actually does videos on how people can grow food. So if people want a good resource on like how he's doing his food forest, he's providing education to people online like this. And I actually got the same exact vine of sweet potatoes. I went to Gulf's Landing. I'm like, what was the vine that he picked from? And I got the same exact vine. And guess what? It's growing already like crazy in our garden. I'm not even kidding. So the sweet potato is doing really good.
That is just such, that's got to be such a good feeling. I mean, I feel good about it and I'm not even doing anything. No, but when you said exponential abundance potential, that's exactly what the powers that shouldn't be don't want us to have, because you talk about, if you can control your food, you can control your water, and you can create those things or gather those things on your own property. That's where you have true power.
Yep. Otherwise, we're slaves. We either are free or we're not. We're either centralized or we're decentralized. So taking back control of the food supply chain, and then the faith and courage that goes along with it, is the 2 essential components: voluntarism and self-reliant systems.
Okay, so let me see. The agent did the agent that came to you with the badge the other day or whenever it was, were they with the state of Florida for some kind of
they're with the county.
Okay.
County inspectors.
And when you basically, lovingly gave him the information that he needs to know so that he can break free from his paradigm, is he somebody who, are you going to be in contact with him later, or did he express any kind of interest in, learning more? He
sent me several very beautiful texts about how he'd like to support everything we're doing. And so yes, we're in direct contact. If I text him, he texts me back, and it could lead to big things.
Okay, see, that's what I like, man, because basically Samuel Adams said it's not the majority who will prevail, but the irate and tireless minority who are keen on setting brush fires of freedom in the minds of men. So here you are, a man on the land, talking to another man who initially came up to you as an agent of the state. You brought down that barrier through love and compassion and friendship. You planted a seed inside of him that he's obviously receiving, or he wouldn't be sending you correspondence. And now that, just like that sweet potato plant, it's going to germinate in the minds of this guy, and he's going to tell 2 people who are going to tell 2 people. See, that's what it's all about. See, we don't need to be treating government employees like enemies. I don't think so, because it's not going to do us any good, and it'll probably, curry some harm that we don't want in our lives. What we want to do is convert them to true friends who understand what we're all about, so they don't have any desire to harm us anymore.
Yes, I couldn't agree more.
Absolutely.
God, this is so freaking exciting, guys.
Yeah, we have a whole actually series on reconciliation and using love and nonviolent resistance and civil disobedience as the solution, because you see in history the Quakers used it, the abolitionists used it, and that was the most effective strategy for revolution in history. If you actually
Gandhi.
look at it. Yeah, Gandhi, Martin Luther King Jr., and we actually list all the examples in these articles. We do a whole series on the liberator.us, so people can check it out if you want. There's dozens of quotes from different religions talking about it too, like being able to, in the face of evil, stand up and say, no, I'm not going to put up, I'm not going to play your game.
Now,
And
Cory,
unique.
go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt. Go
No,
ahead,
go ahead.
Cory. Cory, are you on this kind of a property too with your family? Are you guys involved in your own kind of permaculture on your own property?
So my family lives in an HOA community right now, but we are growing a bunch of plants in our backyard. We have over like 30 something, maybe probably like I think 50 different plants. We have a whole list. It's so much I actually lose track. And we keep gathering more from different sources, and we're actually building in the permaculture principles. I'm new. I'm learning it all as I go. I really just wanted to get going. So I've just started putting plants in the soil. And since we're next to a wetlands, it started to grow. And now we're using the permaculture principles, and now it's taking off. So it's doing really well. And what we plan on doing is getting land nearby so we can set up a demonstration center so we can educate the world and get this on a mass scale, because you can do a lot on just 1 acre, really packing it and concentrating it full of food forest and permaculture. So that's like one of the projects that I'm doing around the Tampa area. Is I'm getting a bunch of people together from a lot of the events I'm doing every single month. And I'm saying, all right, let's get together. Let's buy this land. Let's get some off-grid Airbnbs. Let's start growing food. And we can now have a plant nursery. We can now show by example. We can now do our events there, everything, right? And so I can bring that up. That's I call that the Freedom Land Project right now, the Florida Land Project. And I have a whole presentation on this, about an hour long, where I go into the business plan, looking at competitors, everything, right? And I even have, talking about how we look at money. We're composting the money. We're turning it into something valuable, food and real assets and land, which this stuff is only going up in value. And we want to really collaborate. Like Jim said, this is not a competition. We want to help other people do this all around the state. We want to create a blueprint model so other people can replicate what we create. And I see Jim really as creating that blueprint model for what I'm trying to create. So we're really all just bouncing off of each other and trying to create that better society. And all around Florida, there's people buying land. My friend John actually just bought about, what was it, like 15, 20 acres? He was there at Gulf's Landing talking to Jim about it. He's calling it Arc Gardens. Look, he did a video on this. St. John Pinot Chidester III. That's the name he goes by. He's doing a investigation of Arc Gardens, he's calling it. And he bought like just raw land in the middle of Florida. This is around the Ocala area. So these are totally all different locations. And there's people with 1,000-acre property plans like this one, Anantha Village. Look at this. I mean, they want to put on a whole like university, a whole medical facility, everything that built around natural medicine, built around holistic living and growing food. So there's a high demand for this. And I don't think this is a coincidence, because the abolitionists in the 19th century, what did they build? They built their own towns. They got away from the system and they demonstrated, no, if we want a better system, let's just show by example. Let's do it ourselves. And so they would help runaway slaves, to these underground railroad towns, and then they would free themselves at the same time. You can look at towns like Modern Times or Hopedale Community. I did a whole article series about the towns that the abolitionists set up. So I see we're kind of paralleling their actions by creating these parallel societies.
Brandy says in the chat, I buy from local farmers and can get my veggies and buy from local farmers that have meat locally vacuum packed. Yeah. Okay. So, Jim, tell me about your network of people that you have down in your area. What are the numbers? First of all, how many acres are we talking about that you're walking around on right now?
Basically, this permaculture pathway is 1 acre of densely planted food forest. We have 51 acres, and we've planted a lot of food forests in about 4 other places as well as this. Eventually, the whole thing is a food forest.
Let me backfill something here, and maybe I'm going in the wrong order, but I choose to be unconventional. So, Bill, Jim, who are you, and why should people listen to you? What's your background? Let us know about yourself.
Okay, I'll just a real quick kind of summary. I kind of muddled my way through school. I was daydreaming the whole time. I hated it. And I was a wrestler, and that kept me getting C's and B's so I could at least be on the wrestling team. I wrote my goals at 19 that I wanted to be a 3-time All-American and national champion. My coach laughed at me because the 3 previous years had been really horrible, and I sucked. And 4 years later, I was a 4-time All-American and national champion thanks to learning about vision and goal setting. Then I moved to Hawaii. Then I owned a bar. Prince was there a couple New Years in a row, which I thought was cool because I loved him as an artist. Then I wrote my goals again after the bar business that I wanted to be retired in 3 years with $3 million. And I didn't know what I was going to do. But the universe opened up a pathway, and I ended up starting a mortgage company that did $1.3 billion in gross revenue in 3.5 years. And then I bought a boat, lived on the ocean. Then I moved to Costa Rica, and that's when I red pilled. That's when I learned permaculture, and I have my first 2 daughters. And ever since then, I've been obsessed with bringing these solutions to the world.
So tell us about your community and the network that you've actually created there in your area.
Yes. Well, and the network that we've created, it spans, like in permaculture, you look at the biggest patterns, like reverse engineering the ultimate goal, which is like the Garden of Eden everywhere. And then going down to the ground, on the ground. So like Cory and his incredible network and his incredible service to humanity, I love sharing his information. And Dr. Darrell Wolf and in fact, our 12 council members, Joel Salatin, Lisa Mollison, these are some of the world leaders in their areas. Theo Fleury, the 5-time Stanley Cup or 6-time hockey champ. Pat Miletich, the 5-time UFC world champ, now soil savior, and so on. So we've basically assembled all of these world changers with proven solutions, and we're creating a marketplace, a new economy that will make the current economy obsolete.
Cory, do you want to speak a little bit on this? We've got the Earth Council 12 at liberator.us. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I have it on the screen so everybody can see all the people part of this project. It's also an article form that we have. And this is monumental because, these are a lot of people who are coming together with some world-changing technologies. Like John Baxter really interested me on this call. I did basically a 20-minute video report summarizing a 2-hour video call that they did for the Earth Council, which is like the first call that they ever did. And it's really powerful. I go over each different speaker and we talk about all the different solutions that each one has to share. And I'll bring up the article version right now. And you'll see that I mentioned toward the end of this article, the 2 solutions, like Jim mentioned, voluntarism and permaculture, because I see this appearing over and over again. And as Bill Mollison, he's actually known as like the father of permaculture. He tells us, though the problems of the world are increasingly complex, the solutions remain embarrassingly simple. And, really voluntary interaction, growing food, these things are so simple, so fundamental to humanity. You have to question, why are we not taught about it in school? How come we don't know how to do this? And, people can do it from anywhere with the right knowledge. We have knowledge at our fingertips. And now you have people like Mike Adams who are developing, AI chat models where you can ask any question in the world and it will give you answers. And he wants to have information about permaculture, about medicine, everything in this AI chat model. So I'm trying to help him actually give him data for this chat model, so anybody can ask it any question, better than Google and all these other systems that deplatform and censor people. So we're just creating all the solutions ourselves, and that's why I think the Earth Council is so monumental, because these are people who are leaving the system and saying, no, we're not doing it anymore. So anybody can check this out.
Let me break in a little bit here. Drop Dead 74 says, I have 2 kids in school and no option of relocating to acres of land. So what is the solution?
The solution is to create a vision that inspires you to action. I was dead broke 3.5 years ago. I invested all of my resources, all of my money into the solution. And a lot of interesting things have happened between now and then. And then the vision hit. And the vision was inspiring. And then that vision inspired more people to be involved. And Cory's doing the exact same thing. And it's working, isn't it, buddy?
Yeah, I mean, I keep meeting more and more people every single day. And I think if everybody kind of did this initiative within their own life, of meeting other people in their area and seeing like, hey, I like these ideas. I want to meet other people who are doing it. There's definitely someone in your area who likes these ideas. Most people can't disagree with growing food. And I actually did a whole video on how you can network with people in your area. I share with over 20 different tips, different websites that you can go to. And that's how I built a network really fast. Just being down in Florida for a couple months, I already gathered so much of a network to raise about $500,000 for the project that we have to do in this area, because it's very expensive to get land in this particular area. But you know what? Regardless, I'm still doing it. I'm still putting the effort into it. And I know it's going to happen because I'm bringing all that energy and all those people who want to see it and happen. We're going to make it happen. It's it.
And really, it is about networking, right? Because none of us is greater than all of us, and we all each have our strengths, we have our weaknesses, and if we can all pull together and get a network of people who know what they're doing, and it's like no one of us has to do everything, but if we all do something small, then we've got a lot at the end of the day.
Yep. Very well said. That's exactly right. We start with an inspiring vision. If something inspires you, then start learning about it, talking about it, follow your bliss. And then as you start communicating it, it turns to matter, right? And, you know, also read Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich, where after a lifetime of study of the most successful manifestors, he deducted whatever the mind can conceive and believe it can achieve. So start conceiving and believing of a beautiful future.
Yeah. Okay. So I like detractors and I like to hear people, you know, talk on the other side of the coin. So Mike Lewis says in the chat room, I am only hearing ideas, not answers. Well, Mike, you're not paying attention. Jim, could you just pan around and show us everything you've planted and what you're seeing there on the screen, Mike, you know, courtesy of Jim, is you're seeing the answer. The answer is food. The answer is your own property. The answer is self-determination and self-reliance. That is the answer. And Jim is actually living that. And that's why we're talking to him and Cory right now.
Yep.
I don't know how you could look at this. Okay, Jim, you're telling us that 3 years ago or however long it was, that was nothing but 2 years.
2 years.
Florida sugar sand.
Yeah.
And now you're looking at how did those trees grow that fast in 2 years?
Trees want to grow this fast. You just got to give them the love and the design and the features. So like this plant right here on the ground, this is called perennial peanut. It's better than grass in every conceivable way. You don't have to mow it. And it's a healer of the soil. It's a nitrogen fixer. So when you put this plant around your trees, it's going to hold moisture and it's going to heal the soil for the trees. And then you add some comfrey and some longevity spinach and a few. A guild is a community of plants that support each other. And when you've got that, you don't have to do anything. It just produces for you for generations to come.
And those banana trees must be like 8-10 feet tall. Did you plant them from seeds, or how did you get those to rise so quickly?
Yeah, some of them that I'm looking at are probably 18 feet tall right from here. And we planted them in April 2 years ago, and they were about 3 feet tall on average. We've already harvested hundreds and hundreds of bananas, and we've probably got another 500 on the racks now. And we've also harvested about 150 pups or baby bananas. So within 2 years, it's exponential return on intention.
Wow. That's all I can say is freaking wow. Because I'm thinking you have before and after pictures, right? Like pictures from 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Are they on your site? What's your site? What's your site?
Foodforestabundance.com.
Cory, can you pull that up on the screen?
Yep. Here you
go ahead. Go ahead, Jim.
And then, well, that's the one. Yeah, that's probably the main one. And then there's galtzlanding.farm if people want to stay here in one of our Airbnbs and stuff. But Food Forest Abundance, I don't know exactly where on there you can see. There's some stuff. Yeah, that's it.
There's overview pictures on this one.
Awesome.
Yeah. And I have some pictures in my presentation too I can show. And there's actually pictures of the event we did as well last November. There was a big event with a bunch of speakers. You can see there's a tennis court over there. Here's the Airbnbs. I'll zoom in a little bit. Here you go. And those are all off-grid shipping containers that he did the Airbnbs in.
And
a bunch of speakers.
it gets its electricity and it's plumbed with water and all that stuff's good to go.
100% off grids. Yep, solar and wells for water.
Wow. Go ahead, Cory. I'm just kind of speechless.
Yeah,
right now.
I'm just showing the video right now, and I don't have sound on. I'm just showing different examples. See, he'll do a farm tour with you. Jim will be snacking on all the plants as he goes along.
Can you go ahead and just play it from the beginning?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, let's do that. Oh shoot! Hold on a second. You're not going to be able to hear. Let me see if I can fix the volume.
Okay.
Let's see.
Maybe on my end. Let me see.
No, I don't think it is. It's on mine.
Okay. Let me just share. Whoops.
Well, double check if it is on. Yeah, it is on yours. Yeah, you got it. When you do your share screen, you have to go to the entire screen and then click that little audio button on the bottom.
I have to share a tab. It says. All right. So this should work. Ready?
Ready.
Hear the bugs?
Imagine a world where every lawn and every backyard have been replaced with the ultimate garden, a food forest. Not only would it be beautiful, neither you or your neighbors would ever go hungry. Galt's Landing in St. Cloud, Florida, is a real-life example of what living a free, prosperous, and abundant life could look like for you. Using permaculture principles to design abundant systems that provide all the food, water, and energy resources that families need to thrive. Come visit Galt's Landing. Whether you decide to learn the process firsthand on Volunteer Day, rent an Airbnb right on the property, attend or host one of the events, and meet new friends, or take a farm tour.
God's design in nature is infinitely abundant. There's free energy everywhere. And that's what we'll show you now. Let's go to the front gate. Awesome.
This could be a lawn, like where I'm standing. This little stretch. How many yards is that? What do you think? That's 40 yards maybe? To the end where the driveway comes in? In 40 yards, maybe 10, 12, 15 yards across in the widest spot, we have 70 plus food producing plants. Come on, everybody, have a bite of this one.
I've actually
Cranberry hibiscus.
Good, so delicious.
It's fully edible. It's very good. It's native here
Every
in Florida.
fence in the world should be a food fence. It's already a trellis. The only difference is just add a plant at the bottom of it. Give it some love, give it some soil, get it started, and then that plant will cover your fence, make it look better. Right? Within 3 years, we'll be able to do 500 bottles of wine off this fence. Right? Of our own grapes, growing with love without poisons.
If you're looking for a freedom-based community focused on education, self-sustainability,
Was that Andrew Kaufman?
and
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
Cool.
Yeah.
I love that guy.
Yeah, he's
There
awesome.
you go.
All right.
Yeah,
So
hey, Brian, just before you continue, I just want to say we can do an event like that again.
yeah. Alan Hubbs asked in the chat room, what do you do for septic?
We have a septic field, and then we are in one case, and we want to do this on all of our houses, we're going to capture our methane. So in the one tiny home, we use the methane that goes from the toilet, and we can cook on that one tiny home. We can cook about an hour every other day. On a standard family home, if you capture the methane, you can cook 2 hours every single day.
Wow. And do you have you already learned the ins and outs of how to capture that methane, or is this like a big learning curve for you?
Yeah,
still?
well, again, we work with people who figured it out. So in this case, we're working with home biogas. And I bought one of their contraptions, and it runs right to a cook stove, and it's very efficient.
Okay. Wow, that's crazy. Cory, go ahead, man. You were going to say something else. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're not interrupting me, man. I'm just showing different pictures, showing their websites. Foodforestabundance.com is like their main website, and they even do installs for people. There's a guy, Cameron, who's part of the team. I'm super close with him. He actually has an Instagram as well, if you guys want to check out, because he does a lot of educational stuff too. Look at this, 1 year in his food forest. This was a year ago too, so soon it's going to come up again. But you can see he takes a lot of pictures of the installs he does. So whether you have a small plot of land in front of your house, there's always something you can do. And he always shares pictures with the installs he does. He's a great guy. You can probably have him on sometime if you want to, Brian.
Okay, before we get any further, okay, so if people lived in, how far away do you and Jim live away from each other? Are you close or far away or what?
I'm about 3 hours from Jim. Yeah, so I'm on the whole other coast, basically the central west coast of Florida, around Tampa, and Jim is around Orlando, which is more like central Florida.
Okay.
So yeah, we're not that far.
So everybody in the room, put a 1 in the room if you're in Central Florida or Western Florida. Because what I want to ask Cory now is, before I forget, how do people become a part of yours or Jim's group if they want to become a part of the network and learn from you guys? And I'm sure you guys have bartering going on.
Yeah.
You guys do barter. Okay.
Funny you mentioned that, because there's actually a bartering network that we're creating all across the state. And we're using Telegram, a decentralized platform, to do that. But we're setting up other systems as well. And in fact, I interviewed, and it's going to be releasing 30 minutes from now on my channel, Unitree, which is a group of individuals who are building a network all around the world, built around these food forest projects. So here's their website, unitree.earth, and they're building a whole regenerative economy based on food forestry. So that is an added feature to this, not just growing food and trying to prepare ourselves in the way of, health and survivability, but also economically, which is very much tied in. So they have a whole system that they're developing based on the blockchain, based on a bunch of different things. And so the interview, I go over everything. It's a fundraising platform. It's a networking platform. They even help with setting up the contracts. Like, I need people to know, how do we set up a trust? How do we protect this land? And they're like, yeah, we can connect you with all the resources. We can do it all. And it's amazing. So definitely a good resource for people if they're starting out like me doing these different projects. And if people want to get involved with these projects, they can reach out. Feel free to contact us at any time. Most of us use Telegram, I would say, to communicate. I run a Telegram through all of Florida called Florida United, otherwise known as FU, and people get a kick out of that. I did that on purpose. But yeah, I have a website dedicated to my project. And so you can go to theliberator.us/project. I'll put it in the chat for people.
Okay.
And this goes over my whole project analysis, and I have a contact us button. I have the slides. I go over with Cameron, the design guy, what it takes, what it costs to build a food forest. So if you want more of the itty gritty, a lot of that is in here. But I also share the Great Taking documentary, because we have to be prepared for what's coming. We're creating these solutions partly because the systems we have now are failing us.
Yeah.
So that's a big reason why.
Yeah.
And go ahead, Jim.
Okay, buddy. If anybody would like to be a food forest installer, a designer, or if you'd like to have a food forest or be part of our membership community in any way, then reach out to us at foodforestabundance.com. Sign up for our mailer, and then we will start getting you the information. And you can also purchase a design, or a lot of ways to collaborate.
Team DLZ24 asks in the chat room, can you ask him how he deals with pesticides?
I did a video not too long ago in which I declared that I am the EPA, because I am not using any pesticides on our property. We're using natural solutions. The number one way we deal with the heavy metals and poisons, Doc Will Spencer, and there's a lot of ways, by the way. Good soil eats this stuff. So Doc Will Spencer and Pat Miletich have come to market with a product with 1,300 living microorganisms that live in harmony. And he has a Vortex tea brewer, like a compost tea brewer. That product can eat the wickedest of the poisons and the heavy metals. And the byproduct, the shit from that product, is bioavailable fatty acids. So it converts the problem into the solution right in your soil.
And what is it called again?
It's Environautics. If you want to go to their website, it's environotics.com.
Holy cow. Like, you guys are opening up this whole world to my mind that I didn't even know existed 36 minutes ago.
Here you go. You guys can see it on the screen.
Okay, let's see. I want to make sure if you guys, North Florida here, 10 acres near the Sewanee River, very interested, says Sydney.
Awesome. Yeah, I know a lot of people all across the state. There's people setting up projects, so you can definitely get involved.
Okay, before we go
Be
any
sure to
further, Cory,
contact us.
can you put is there one contact number or email or whatever that people can contact?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
What-
they go to the liberator.us. I have a contact button here. Otherwise, I'm on every platform and I will see it. I'm not like a big content creator. I won't get lost. So if you want, feel free to reach out. Yeah, you guys are already linking in the chat. Thank you guys. They're already
And
linking it.
same with
guys
you
are
too,
great.
Jim. If they want to contact you, the liberator.us, or how do they contact you?
Food Forest Abundance.
Yeah,
Food-
or
okay.
you could just call me. My phone number is 651-329-2151. You could text me first probably, but if you call, I'll do my best to respond as soon as possible.
And that's foodforestabundance.org or .com or
.com. That's
Okay.
the way in if you want to go into actually getting it done right away. But if you have questions for me personally, please feel free to reach out.
.com. Okay, I just put that in the chat for everybody who's interested.
Cool.
Tri-State Audit News says, I already have the land. I planted some fruit trees and stuff. The more information I can get, the better.
Nice.
One other thing that's so relevant and important. We have created a model called the Freedom Farm Academy. It's like literally the apple of freedom, but it doesn't have a bite out of it, right? It's an actual apple. So it's the Freedom Farm Academy model stacks all of the functions, including profit centers. So if you've got land and you want to turn your land into a freedom demonstration site that creates massive abundance, we would love to help you with that.
Now, Jim, on the economic aspect of this, is there? Do you guys pay property taxes on your on your property there in Florida?
My land is in trust, and I do not pay any form of tax. I will voluntarily give my surplus to humanity, to my community, but I will not do it by force. And as far as the economics on growing food, I like to boil it down to the lowest common denominator, the simplest thing to get, right? Let's just take this mulberry tree. This mulberry tree probably costs us $60 at the store, and it probably costs us another, let's call it $150 between digging the hole and putting soil in, right? Well, it was only 1/10 the size of this. If we would have purchased the same mulberry tree now at this size, it would be probably 5 times that much money. So just by the size of the tree, this asset has went up in value probably 5x in 2 years.
And give the nutritional benefits of the fruit that tree yields. Well,
Look up the value and the nutrient density and the complexity of this particular tree, the mulberry, but all of them, right? So you could take an apple tree. You get maybe, what is it, 250 apples by year 5. And the value of an organic apple, you could do the numbers yourself. Every fruit is different, but it's exponential ROI.
Can you pull some of that stuff up, Cory? Especially about the mulberry, because I mean, nutrient and vitamin dense foliage and stuff like that is always on the forefront of my mind, because we are constantly being poisoned. If we're not healthy, we can't truly be free, and there's no way we can be truly free and healthy unless we feed our bodies the right stuff. And it's obviously can't come from the supermarket, because they're filled with GMO and all that other garbage.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually showed a tweet here. It said, when you plant one seed and get 1,000 in return, and then you do that with 100s of varieties of seeds, it's hard to buy into the scarcity model being sprayed on us daily.
Yeah.
And, this is why Jim calls it food forest abundance, because over time, I mean, this is an exponential model. And I would say that a lot of the solutions that are being brought together here are, I mean, historic. I mean, so some of it is new, but we are reviving a lot of ancient practices as well, like from ancient times. I mean, there's electroculture being used, and I'm even using it too. It actually revived a plant completely from the dead for us when we used copper wire and we made a coil. So that's a strategy people can use very easily, just using copper. And so the strategies like that, it's like amazes me. I'm just like every day, I'm like just amazed and learning these things. And I welcome anybody else to join that type of process, because we want this everywhere. Please do reach out. And I want to mention before anything, Jim Gale is actually a speaker for this event that I'm doing, and Mike Adams actually wanted to be a speaker for it too. And so you're welcome as well, Brian, or anyone from the audience. If you want to share my screen real quick, I'll show you the Liberator 2 showcase. And this is another way for people to get involved and another way for people to learn all about this stuff. We have hundreds of resources in this event, and I did a trailer on this as well. It's about a minute long or 2 minutes. And look at all these speakers. And we have even Todd Pittner, who's Mike Adams' co-host on Decentralized TV. And they have a bunch of solutions on how to decentralize and get out of the system. So they love us.
That's Todd is Uncle V.
Yes.
When you said his name, and it's like, I've only said his name like a handful of times, but I've talked with that guy. That dude is cool.
He
I love
lives
that
in
guy.
Tampa. I was like amazed. I was like, you're near me. So like we actually met up, and now he can get involved with the project we're doing here. So anybody around the Tampa area, I welcome you. We're still trying to look for land. We actually might have land. We're actually looking at it tomorrow, doing a tour with a bunch of people. So it's really exciting stuff. Things might happen in a couple of days from now, I'll tell you that. But we're moving pretty fast.
Good luck, brother.
Thank you.
Okay. Wow, there's so much stuff here. It's not just permaculture. It's not just economic. It's not just about teaching the government agents who are going to one day come to your door and demand a reckoning. It's really about creating serious self-sustainability. I mean, not even just on plumbing and on energy creation and creating power that comes into our houses and the food that we eat at our tables. But you mentioned a trust. Is that a simple thing for people to get started, Jim?
It was simple enough for me. I called somebody up that knows how to do it. They're called the Freedom People, and they helped me with all the details. It took about a year, and we were able to transfer our bank account and our property into trust.
And once that's in a trust, and I don't mean to go off on any kind of tangent here, because I know we're talking about permaculture, but I think this is all part of creating a self-sustaining society.
It is.
Are there any pitfalls to that? I mean, do you get any kind of pushback on that, or is that all stuff that's just completely legal and lawful and above board?
Well, so legal and lawful are two different things, right? Legal is the undoing of God's law. Lawful is lawful. So it is lawful. I don't pay attention to legal, so whatever.
Well, the only reason I mention it is because unfortunately we live in a world where perception is everything for a lot of people. Yeah. And when a government agent perceives you as doing something that's illegal, he always equates it with immorality. You're doing something wrong and you're a criminal. That's the only reason I bring that up.
Hey, look, Brian.
You're right to bring it up.
Brian, I have here a chart from Unitree, and this is how they set up their land trust system. So you can see they have a lot of this already mapped out. So it takes a little bit of time to understand all their systems, but I definitely recommend people check it out because Jim's actually, I heard, Jim, you're putting a section of your land into Unitree's system.
Yes. One section that we're going to tokenize it, which increases the value and the shareability of it, and it brings in the community, and it incentivizes community involvement in food production specifically for us, and then learning how to use that food as a community and as individuals. We want to close the loop so people can get it. That's better in every way.
Yeah.
Mama Lions. Go ahead, Cory. Go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to mention, you have Derek Bros and people in Mexico setting up these ideas of exit and build. And I think all of what we're doing is kind of complementary to what they're doing. And you can see they have the 5 days of activation that they had during their Greater Reset tour. And permaculture is one of the main steps. And so it's another one is taking back our tech. Another is understanding the problem philosophically, knowledge based. I'm more of an education guy, but see, I'm moving into these other realms as well. And I welcome everybody else to do the same thing with me because I'm good at one thing, but I'm still learning all the other things. And that's why we all have to work together and integrate functions.
Yep, exactly. The Joker 6789 says 100 years ago, 80 to 90% of the people were self-sufficient. Now 90% are dependent on the government in some way. I would say it's probably more than 90% that are dependent on the government. But good point. So I want to close this out because I want to keep this a short live stream that people can reference, and people's attention spans are small. But I think we talked about a lot of really pertinent and relevant things, man. And if you guys don't mind, I would love to have you guys on a show again and I'll try to get more. Honestly, this was by the seat of my pants. I didn't know what to expect. I'm super pumped and excited about this. You became the spark that ignited a fire in my heart to actually pursue this, and I want to learn a lot from you. So, real quick, closing thoughts from you, Jim, and then Cory. Go ahead, Jim. You're on.
Well, we are, for lack of a better way of looking at it, at war, right? Some people look at it as the divine game. So whatever perspective you choose, it is in your best interest to take the poisons out of your life, to be aware of the poisons that you're putting in your heart and your mind and your stomach, and then simply choose what's best for you. Take those out of your life. That's the first step. And then start creating a vision, an inspired vision for your life and the life of your family. And then let's connect and let's hold each other to and guide each other and support each other, because we're either going to win this game, this war, or we're not. And we will, the direct correlation that we do this, that we become free and in our hearts and minds. And remember this, faith and courage is the frequency, the energy, the vibration, the armor of God, right? So stand with it.
I totally resonate with what you just said, because one of my favorite quotes comes from Samuel Adams. He says, a general dissolution of principles and morals will more surely overthrow the liberties of America than all the force of the common enemy. And
Wow.
This is truly a battle between good and evil, because I'll tell you what, if people didn't have evil resident in their heart, then they wouldn't want to force us and coerce us and threaten us and tax us and poison our skies and all that kind of stuff. So Jim, I really appreciate you saying that, because this is what it's all about. Cory, your thoughts.
Thank you. Yes, I met you guys. I never thought I would meet you guys, I'll be honest. Just so you know, Jim, I met Brian, and I never expected that. He was the one who got me questioning a lot in my worldview. When I was 16 years old, I watched this video. He had a bunch of questions, and I sat down with my own conscience, and I started thinking about the world. So he really launched a lot of things for me, and so I give him great credit. He's a one-man army, and so are you, Jim. I mean, you guys are coming out here, and you're like sharing a message that's unique. And I really respect that. So thank you for the work you guys do. And I want everybody to definitely network with people in the area, network with us, get involved either way. I have a book that I just released, Slavery Gone for Good, because I believe we can change the world overnight with these ideas. Truly. Yes. There's independent media with millions of people around the world already. We can change the world overnight. If one community just says, no, we're not going to pay taxes, it's over. That's how every evolution in history happened with the Quakers, the abolitionists, the founding fathers, and Gandhi. It's all over taxes, as simple as that. But what if we can actually completely plug away from the system, or show it in many different regards, and show people that better reality, so it's easier to do that? Because a lot of people are fearful and they're stuck in that system. So that's where permaculture comes in. That's where the inspiration and the empowerment comes in. I plan on bringing my book to the universities, to the college campuses, to challenge the professors to start a movement on campus, with students who are empowered. Say, hey, I care about you and your vision. I want to learn from you. And I'm not claiming to be an expert. That's the problem. There's people out there who claim to be the answer, who claim to know what to do in this world and tell others how to live their lives. So I'm saying, no, live and let live. It's basic morality. Most people can agree with it. Grow food. Let's do it. Let's be healthy. Who doesn't want to be healthy? So these are the ideas, and that's why I think they're so valuable. They're not divisive. They're unifying, and they get to the root cause. Check out the Liberator 2 showcase that I'm doing. And sign up. There's a bunch of resources, and you can get my book on there. Okay. And it goes deep into the solution. There's no other book out there that has done that, which is why I created this resource. Brian, I'll give it to you for free if you want, because I consider you a valuable person in this movement, because I really want this knowledge to get out there. There's everything in that book is not anywhere else. You can't find it anywhere else. I guarantee you. Historians completely ignore the history of the abolitionists, and what we're doing is exactly like what they're doing, as I said.
Well, I'll tell you what, I thoroughly enjoyed and benefited from you guys coming on. Thank you for taking your time. Can you guys hang out for another 5 minutes while I close the live stream? I think it'd be perfect for me to. I'm gonna cap it off with a quote in the chat room by Press with Rancor. Quote from Seneca: "He who is brave is free." Thank you guys, and I will have all the links to everything that we talked about from Cory underneath this video, and I'll try to put it in the pinned comment when we leave. But thank you guys. I will see you in the next live stream.